श्रीमद्वेङ्कटनाथार्यं वन्दे वेदान्तदेशिकं लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथया मुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये। माता पिता युवतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्वयानाम् आद्यस्य नः कुलपतेर्वकुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्घ्रियुगलं प्रणमामि मूर्धना। भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वयभट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसारकुलशेखरयोगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणुपरकालयतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम्। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। व्यासं वसिष्ठनप्तारं शक्तेः पौत्रम् अकल्मषं पराशरात्मजं वन्दे शुकतातं तपोनिधिं। व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधये वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। अचतुर्वदनोर्ब्रह्मा द्विबाहुरपरो हरिः अफाललोचनः भगवान् बादरायणः। वन्दे गोविन्दतातौ मुनिमथ मनवै लक्ष्मणार्यं महान्तं ध्यायेयं यामुनार्यं मम हृदि तनवै राममेवाभियामं पद्माक्षं प्रेक्षशीय प्रथमपि मुनिं नाथमीडे शठारिं स्तौमि प्रेक्षेय लक्ष्मीं शरणमशरणश्रीधरं संशयेयं नाममायिरं येत्तनिन्न नारायणानरने उन्नै मामित्तन्महनाः பெற்றாள் எமக்கு வாதைத்த விருமே காமன் போதரு காலமென்னு பங்குனின் நாட்களே பாரித்தோம் தீமை செய்யும் ஸ்ரீதரா எங்கள் சிற்றில் வந்து சிதையேலே. Namaskarams to the August gathering here. An auspicious occasion for many very reasons. I understand that I have been given the fortune to address on a very, very sacrosanct topic in the inauguration of such a beautiful hall. So, my heartfelt thanks and obeisances to the members of the Bharati Vidya Bhavan, its board, its serving volunteers, and of course to the sponsors, and to such a receptive, let me add the word hopefully receptive audience. Is there a way that we can reduce this well, am I audible? Yeah. As I continue speaking, I'll get more audible. Bharatah Panchamo Vedaha Jamata Dashamo Grahaha is a Prachina Subhashitam. We don't know where this came from, but it's been told for a very long time. Bharatah Panchamo Vedaha. If at all there is one Adhara Pramanam in Sanatana Dharma, which is the quintessence of the Vedas, it is Mahabharata. As and when I get into the topic, we will see where it actually brings the quintessence of the Vedas in it. Bharatah Panchamo Vedaha. If at all there is the fifth Veda, because there is no fifth. How many Vedas are there? You just now said before 3 minutes you won't ask questions. Why are you asking questions? So there are 4. In reality, there are only 2. Let's see how. But if at all there is a fifth Veda, there is a status of fifth Veda that can be accorded to one of the scriptures, it is Bharata. Like how I'm not talking of the sons-in-law these days. In those days, they were admixture of all problems in the family. So the incoming son-in-law will cause more turmoil in the family. So he was treated as the 10th graha. There was no 10th graha. So Bharata Panchamo Vedaha, Jamata Dashamo Graha. Like how the incoming son-in-law is the 10th graha, so is the Mahabharata. So now people will never forget Mahabharata. Because the line says about the son-in-law. So if you remember the latter half, you will have to remember the former two. So Bharata Panchamo Vedaha. In that Sri Mahabharatam, which is treated or accorded the status of the 5th Veda, there are 5 Ratnas in it. One is a conversation which Dhritarashtra has with his brother called Vidura. See, you have to be very careful while you pronounce words. If you stress on the da, making it Vidura, the meaning will change, because in Samskritam, Vidura means widower. Vidura means wise. So, the conversation that lasted between Dhritarashtra and Vidura is called Vidura Niti. That is one Ratnam. The conversation that lasted between Dhritarashtra and Sanat Kumaras became Sanat Sujatiyam. Then comes the conversation between Yaksha and Yudhishthira, which is called Yaksha Prashnam. This is one work which is not called by its answer. It seems the questions were more beautiful than the answer. So it was called Yaksha Prashnam. And the conversation that happened between Arjuna and Krishna is Bhagavad Gita. And then comes the conversation between Yudhishthira and Bhishma, Gangeya, which is Vishnu Sahasranama. So Mahabharatam is the 5th Vedam. The 5th Veda in Mahabharatam houses 5 gems called as Vidura Niti, Sanat Sujatiyam, Yaksha Prashnam, Bhagavad Gita and Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam. So today I have the fortune to be speaking about Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam. Besides today, I will be talking about it tomorrow as well. So it is a series. Don't think I'll be repeating, because most serials, if they are telecast this day, the same thing will be repeated tomorrow. There's another part tomorrow which is important. So okay. So, in Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam, what is the Sahasranama Bhagam? We need to understand when this occurred. In Sri Mahabharatam, the Adi Parva completely talks about Garuda Upakhyanam, and then how the Pandavas were born, how the Dhartarashtras were born. The sons of Dhritarashtra are Dhartarashtras, how they were born. And how was the little enmity that developed between these two sets of brothers? And then we have the Utpannam of Draupadi. Then we have Draupadi Swayamvaram. And then the Sabha Parva. And then as a result of the gambling that happened, what happened? Where did they go? Forest. You have all seen that, right? Because they gambled, they went to the forest. Wrong. At the end of gambling, when Gandhari reminds Dhritarashtra that what he has been witness to is something which is not righteous, he gives back the kingdom what they have lost. Indraprastha is given back to them. They could have very well gone back. But Draupadi calls her husbands to the Antahpuram, which is Shuddhatma, and tells them, this kingdom which is stained in my insult and my menstrual blood should not be taken back. Because Ekavastra Rajaswala, while she was menstruating, she was not given even the basic courtesy of resting. She was pulled to the court. So she said, I will not take back this Rajyam. Then Yudhishthira asks, what should I do? You now go and invite them for gambling. I am sure you will terribly lose. You say that the person who has lost should do a prayaschittam. They did. That is when Shakuni intervenes. He says, well, you have now come for gambling again. Now, after 12 years of Vanavasam, I introduce one rule. That was very new then. It was called the year of incognito, Ajnatavasam. And if you are spotted before the Ajnatavasam ends, you will have to repeat the 12 plus 1 again. Draupadi said, you say yes because I have my friend Krishna who will guide us. You say yes. He agreed. They went to the Vana. That is when we have the Vana Parva, the third Parva, Adi Parva, Sabha Parva, Vana Parva. Towards the end of Vana Parva, in Araneyaka Upaparva is where comes Yaksha Prashnam. And after that, they live for 1 year of incognito in Matsya Desham, which is called Virata Parva. Then after Virata Parva is when comes Udyoga Parva. And then we have Bhishma Parva. Bhishma Parva is a very large Parva. The entire Ramayanam of 24,000 shlokas is close to one Parva called Bhishma Parva. So then Bhishma starts fighting. Bhishma then goes to the bed of arrows. Then after that comes Drona, Karna, Shalya, Ashwathama, Sauptantika Parva comes. After that, when he is lying on the bed of arrows, when all the sons of Dhritarashtra are dead, and Yudhishthira was ordained to become the king of Hastinapura, he has certain doubts in administration. In those days, people who ruled were educated. So, they said, I want to enhance my understanding of administration, and I also want to understand the path to moksham better. What should I do? That is when Krishna says, you go to your own predecessor called Bhishma, who is a repository of knowledge. You go to him and ask. See, imagine a situation. Imagine Maninalli ನನ್ನ ಅಜ್ಜಿ ಗೊಜ್ಜು ಅವಲಕ್ಕಿ ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. Imagine. She makes wonderful food, and especially if being coaxed to tell one dish which she makes the best, ಗೊಜ್ಜು ಅವಲಕ್ಕಿ. When she is living hale and healthy, I won't ask the recipe. When she is in the ICU, people are unsure whether she will be discharged or the Atma will get discharged. Then when she is in the ICU, I go tell her, please tell me the recipe of Gujjavalaki. All these days, Yudhishthira had no questions. When Bhishmacharya, Sharatalpa Gato Bhishma, when he is lying on the bed of arrows, he says, can you please tell me Moksha Dharma and Rajya Dharma? But Bhishma is very happy. He tells all this. Then Yudhishthira makes note of it and comes back to his kingdom. Again, there were a few questions which were in his mind. He wants to go and ask him again. That is when comes the concept of Shat Prashni. He goes back. He says, Shrutva Dharman Aseshena. He says, Dharman Aseshena. I have listened to everything. Yudhishthira Shantanavam Punarevabhya Bhashata. Now Shantanava, Shantanu's son, Gangeya, and Yudhishthira, they started talking. When two great people talk, the compendium will be precious, will be matchless. That is how he asks 6 questions. Kimekam daivatam loke, kimva pyekam parayanam. 6 questions. It's called Shat Prashni in Sanatana Dharma. And the answers are given. Correct? This is how we have put this in the Purva Bhagam. But what is Sahasranamam? Vishwam Vishnur Vashatkaro till Sarva Praharana Yudha. That is the set of 1,000 names he cited. Then this Dharmarthi Prapniyat, Dharmam Artharthi Chartham Apniyat, that all came later by the other rishis. That was added. So Sahasranama Bhagam is only this much. For this Sahasranama Bhagam, we have Adi Shankaracharya around the 8th century AD. There is little difference here in the time period. Let us not get into that. Let us leave it to historians and scholars. As per Sringeri records in the 8th century AD, he gave us a Bhashyam called as Vishnu Sahasranama Bhashyam by Adi Shankara Bhagavatpada. Around the 11th century, we had a commentary called Bhagavad Guna Darpanam by Parashara Bhatta, who was the illustrious son of an illustrious father called Kuresha, the prime disciple of Ramanuja in the 11th century. Then we have one Acharya in the Dvaita Sampradaya from the Uttaradi Matham, Satyasanda Tirtha, who gave us a Bhashyam. So we have Advaita Parabhashyam, Vishishtadvaita Parabhashyam, and Dvaita Parabhashyam from Shankara, Ramanuja and Madhva schools. The beauty is, though the aphorisms or the postulates given by these three schools may have differences, in Sahasranama Bhashyam, 98% they are quite agreeable on the way they interpret the names. Maybe there will be slight differences. Given the period, political scenario that we are in, I am duty bound to not talk about the differences. So forget the differences. I will just talk about those which are the similarities, which is 98%. Why should we bother about that 2%? Let us leave to that 0.01% of the Indian scholars who do that. Let's leave it to them. Remaining 99.999, we are in one Goshti. Now, today, from Bhagavad Guna Darpanam, Parashara Bhatta begins that there are 6 characteristic features of Vishnu Sahasranamam. It is very, very important that you listen to every minute of this lecture, because it's very easy to find people giving motivation lectures. Get up in the morning, say to yourself, you feel good, look at the mirror and talk. All this I am not here to talk. In my humble opinion, IMHO, this is how Twitter abbreviates that. IMHO, I feel reading and listening to Vishnu Sahasranamam is motivation. We don't need to listen to those thoughts, feel good about it, these one-liners. We get those WhatsApp, nothing. Vishnu Sahasranamam is motivation. In my opinion, you may have a difference of opinion, you're free to, because every case goes to the court now, don't file a case against me, you have the right to opine. Parashara Bhatta talks about 6 essential and distinguishing characteristic features of Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam. The first one, Mahabharata Saratvat. I'll keep asking you this again and again, you have to remember. Rishibhif Pariganataha, Vedacharya Samaharat, Bhishmotkrishtha Matatvataha, Parigrahati Gita Taikartha Kaschanaha. These are the 6 characteristic features of Sri Vishnu Sahasranam. Let us go into each attribute one by one. Mahabharata Saratvat. He says, Vishnu Sahasranamam is the essence of Mahabharatam. What is Mahabharatam? Bharatam is the essence of Vedas. How many Vedas are there? 4. No, 3. No, 2. Remember, if at all we have to classify the mantras, the way the hymns appear in the Vedam, you can basically classify them into 2. One is Gadyam, the other one is Padyam. That which is poetic in nature, that which is prose in nature. Generally, that which is poetic in nature is only that is worthy to be sung. Prose cannot be sung that easily unless and until you have a marvelous Vedanta Deshika who has created something called Raghuvira Gadyam. Otherwise, Gadyams are never meant to be sung. Padyam is what is meant to be sung. So, Sama Veda is the song form of the Vedas. So, that is a replica of Rigvedam. So, Rigvedic hymns and Samavedic hymns, if you have to do it in set theory, the intersection will be very high because the mantras found in Sama and Rig are quite the same. Just that you recite it in a Rig fashion in Rigvedam and you sing it in Samavedam. So Rig and Samam can be treated as one. Then there is Yajurvedam. So there are 2. So Rig is equal to Samam is one Veda. Second is Yajur. Sir, what is the one left? Atharvana Vedam is a compilation of the first 3. So you can call Vedas 2. But the moment you distinguish them as poetic style and singing style, then it becomes Rig, Yajuhu, Samam. No, sir. Even the compilation of certain mantras from the first three should be given importance, then it becomes 4. So, many places you will find Trayi Veda, the word. Then you may be wondering, no, there Chatvaraha. Because Atharvanam is found in all the other 3. So, you have got 4. Correct. Now, the essence of the 4 is the 5th one, which is Mahabharatam. The essence of Mahabharatam is Vishnu Sahasranama. So, if you recite Vishnu Sahasranamam, it won't be technically wrong for you to state to another person that I have recited the Vedas. Technically, you won't be wrong. Though, theoretically, you have to recite the Vedas to recite Vedas. But the essence of Vedas is what is found in Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam. So, the first feature of Vishnu Sahasranamam is Mahabharata Saratvat. So, what is the Saram of Mahabharatam? Who is the, first of all, let us go into who is the hero of Mahabharatam? Yudhishthira. See? Why is Yudhishthira the hero? Because, see, for us we may be doubtful, sir, Yudhishthira? He is the one who mindlessly agreed for that game of dice. See, he was not an expert at it. He had just begun his 30-day crash course. Just begun. And he is competing with Shakuni. See, we may have differences of opinion with Shakuni, his thoughts about Hastinapura and so on. But undoubtedly Shakuni was super intelligent. We can't deny that. He was very intelligent. But why don't we talk Shakuni in such superlative terms when we talk about Mahabharatam today? Because it was his misfortune that he found somebody 100 times more intelligent than him called Krishna. His Jatakam had a mistake. Otherwise, Shakuni is super intelligent. So when we get back to Sri Vishnu Sahasranamam or Mahabharatam, how could Yudhishthira be the hero? Because when you look at Yaksha Prashnam, that one episode of Yaksha Prashnam that occurs towards the end of Vanaparva, Draupadi was left to fend for herself. He had to come and bring his brothers back to life. At that point in time, when he finds his 4 brothers lying like corpses on the ground by the banks of a lake, comes a ethereal voice which says, answer my questions and then drink the water. We'll have to die thirsty if somebody gives us this task. Answering questions and then drinking water. And not one. 124 questions were asked to Yudhishthira. With such elegance, with such poise, with such style, he answers those questions. You know, there are 3 junctures in Yaksha Prashnam, everywhere where the Yaksha asks, if you want to stop now, you can stop, you can drink the water and go. He says, no, I want to complete your entire list of questions. You ask. And after he has answered those 124 questions, the Yaksha appears and says, I give you the choice or the boon that you can choose one of your brothers who can be given life. He could have chosen Bhima, the big gym man that he was. He could have chosen Arjuna, the very, very sign of victory, triumph. But he said, I will choose Nakula. Yaksha was perplexed. He said, he comes not from your mother, but another lady called Madri. Why do you want to bring Nakula back to life? He said, see, my mother Kunti had 3 sons. I am the eldest of the lot. I am surviving. I want my other mother's eldest son to also survive. So bring back Nakula to life. That very moment, Yaksha grants that all the 4 brothers should come back to life. Now, even in such times of calamity and such times of distress, he stood fixed, sthira, during the Yuddham. This is a battle too. So he is Yudhishthira. So they were right. Yudhishthira is the hero. But Yudhishthira may have his own brownie points, but he could have still consulted Krishna before he began the gambling game. Right? Then had he consulted, nothing would have happened after that. No Bhagavad Gita, no Vishnu Sahasranama. We could have saved so many productive hours of ours. Right? He didn't consult. So, Yudhishthira is to be respected, regarded, but whether he's the hero of Mahabharatam is a question. So, who could be the hero? Krishna, sir. Undoubtedly Krishna, sir. Who is the heroine? Generally, in most of our stories, the hero and heroine will have a relationship as that of a couple, a dampati. But here is one hero and heroine of an itihasa where friendship is the relationship that they have. Of course, couples should be friends, but they are beyond being a couple, they are friends. Now, I will read out the Samskritam lines in the Bhashyam. The first point I made, Mahabharata Saratvat, Vishnu Sahasranamam is the essence of Mahabharatam. For that, the poet states, Mahabharatotkarsha samarthana purvakam Mahabharata saratva kathanam Mahabharatam hi parigraha viseshat avisishta plavavachana saushtavadyatmakatvat iti prabalyat Puraneshu tavat vayuv prokta shaivayoho matimanthanam avidya yenadau shrutisagarat jagathitaya janitaha Mahabharata chandrama. The essence of Mahabharatam or the importance of Mahabharatam is spoken in Vayu Puranam and Shiva Puranam, it seems. What do they say? Veda Vyasa kept Mati Manthanam Avidya Yenadau Shruti Sagarat. If Vedas were construed as an entire vast ocean, Vyasa kept his mind, intellect as the rod, churning rod to churn out of that ocean and got a beautiful moon out of it. Why moon? Because when the Milky Ocean was churned, moon emerged out of it. After moon came Lakshmi. That is why she is treated as the sister to the moon. Chandram Chandra Sahodarim Lakshmim Kshira Samudra Raja Tanayam. She is the daughter of the king of the ocean, Varunalayam. And then emerged the moon. And that moon was Mahabharatam. Now, why is moon important? Here you will have to note one point. Often a political debate. All these are political debates only. Where does the word Hindu come from? Correct. We have to keep defending. No, sir. In the one Greek person came, he said Indica. Then there was this Uzbek person called Alberuni. In his book, he said Hind. Then Parsi, Zoroastrians in their work called it Hapta Hindu, which is Sapta Sindhu. So, any landmass, any geographical area from, you'll have to draw that line. From the top of India, then the top of Pakistan, draw a line. You can cover Sindha Desham, Punjab Desham, then go to the end till Karachi, and from there, because that is where Indus joins the ocean, Arabian Ocean, right? So, all that area covering Ladakh, you have got parts of Tibet, because that is where Himalayan region lies. Then you'll have to go till Arunachal Pradesh, some parts of Brahmadesham, which is current day Myanmar, then go till Bangladesh, then come till Andaman below, and then Lanka, all this landmass. It will be like a pentagon if you draw. This is Hinda Desham, which is called Hinda. Hinda, those people who lived there became Hindus. How can the people who live in a landmass be called Hindus? Landmass is Hindu. How can people be called Hindus? See, if a person is selling Alugadde on the road, he may have one name. We don't know his name. He is not holding his name. He is not an air hostess. So we won't know his name. Alugadde Bannili. What he sells will be his name. Correct? People belonging to the landmass of Hind will be called Hindus. No, not possible. Well, I will give you one quotation from Hunzang. He was a traveler from the Chinese land. In the ancient civilization, Chinese civilization existed around the Huanghu River, and today that landmass begins in the east coast of China, Beijing, Shanghai. That region alone was Chinese civilization. So a person had to travel, but he was not given permission to come to Bharatadesham. Then I'm talking 1500, 600 years before. So he went through the Central Asian countries, and through Uzbekistan he entered the Hindadesham. There he remarks in his book, this is the land of the Intu. INTU, into. Why into? He says the word into signifies those people who worship the moon too. Indu is into. This line of his comes even to make all the classes of people agree. I have to bring this quotation also. In the Discovery of India by Panditji, he quotes this line from Huenzang's work. Why? Because though we worship the sun, moon is equally important for us. Why? Because in Jyotishya Shastram, in Jatakam, which is Buddhi Karaka? No? ಜಾತಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಜ್ಯೋತಿಷ್ಯ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಬುದ್ಧಿಕಾರಕ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋದು ಯಾರನ್ನ? ಬುಧ. ಬುಧ